So guys, picture this. I am standing there in my most expensive tuxedo. Had just finished my first dance with Emily first. She looked absolutely breathtaking. The music's playing, everyone's laughing, drinking champagne. I am feeling on top of the world, right? This is it, the happiest day of my life. And right at that moment, my phone starts vibrating in my pocket. I look at it. Mom, Karen. The one who wasn't even at the wedding because 6 months ago she threw a massive fit, accusing Emily of stealing her son. The whole blowout started because we asked her not to just show up to our wedding planner meetings uninvited. You should have seen the drama. She was screaming that I was betraying the family, that Emily was brainwashing me. I finally laid it out straight. Either you respect my fiancé and our boundaries, or you are not welcome at the wedding. She chose the latter. She even tried to get my dad and my sister to boycott the whole thing. Luckily, they didn't cave. So now, in the middle of my reception, she is calling. My finger hovered over the decline button, but some stupid instinct made me answer. Maybe I thought she'd had a change of heart. Maybe she wanted to finally congratulate me. Man, was I naive. I step away from the dance floor, answer the phone, and immediately no hello, no congratulations. Just this frantic, panicked voice. I need $10,000. Right now, transfer it to my account immediately. I am stunned. I am like, Mom, what are you talking about? What is going on? And she fires back. If you don't send the money right now, I am calling your precious Emily and telling her everything about your Wednesdays, about your double life. I am completely lost. What Wednesdays? What are you talking about? I ask, and then she drops the whole bomb. According to her, I go to this bar called the Blue Room every Wednesday. I have a VIP table there, and I supposedly meet different women. She stated with total confidence that she had proof, hotel receipts, videos from the bar owner, screenshots of my texts with some Samantha, Bridget, and a woman named Stella. She even described what they were wearing and what cocktails I supposedly bought them. It was so detailed and convincing that for a split second I doubted myself. Did I forget something? The creepiest part is that there was a tiny grain of truth in it. The Blue Room is a real place. It is near my office, and I've popped in a couple of times for a quick dinner after work when I was running late. Usually alone, with my laptop. I'd have a steak and then head home to Emily. But she took those few innocent visits and constructed this whole soap opera about me being some playboy. So there I am, standing in my tux, looking at my guests, at my smiling wife, and I am hearing my own mother on the phone trying to blackmail me for cash, threatening to destroy my marriage. And she is doing it with such conviction, like she truly believes it. That is when Emily comes over to me, sees my pale face, and asks, "Honey, is everything okay?" And as luck would have it, my mom's voice in the receiver gets so loud that Emily can hear her. Karen was screaming something about how everyone will find out what kind of man you really are. Then my best man Daniel runs over. "Dude, what is wrong?" Guests are starting to turn around, whispering. I saw my father-in-law looking over with concern, and my mom is just going ballistic in my ear. "Ask your Emily about Samantha. Ask her if she knows about your private room at the bar." Emily was looking at me with this utterly devastated look, her eyes full of horror and confusion. People started pulling out their phones, sensing the drama. And right at that moment, when it felt like the happiest day of my life was turning into a nightmare, something in me just snapped. I remembered all those years of being her good boy, all the humiliation, all the manipulation. I remembered the folder of evidence I'd been secretly compiling for years, and I knew I was done. I looked at Emily, at our friends, and I made a decision. I walked over to the DJ, put a hand on his shoulder, and asked for the microphone. The music cut out. Every single guest turned to look at me. The room fell silent. My mother was still shrieking through the phone I was now holding in my hand. I brought the microphone to my lips and said, in a firm voice, "Mom, since you love telling stories about secret lives so much, maybe it is time I told one, a true story." And guys, in that moment, the silence on the other end of that phone was so deep, you could have heard a pin drop. All right, so where I left off, I am standing there with the DJ's microphone in my hand. My mom dead silent on the other end of the line, and every single wedding guest staring at me. The air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Emily's looking at me with these huge, worried eyes, and I can see my father-in-law starting to get up from his table. I took a deep breath and just went for it. Into the mic, I said, "Mom, since you want to talk about secret lives and covering tracks, let me tell everyone about your secret life. Let me tell them how you've been stealing from Dad's retirement account for the last 2 years to feed your gambling addiction." You could hear a collective gasp in the room. I kept going. "Let me tell them about the cash advances on credit cards you opened in his name. The $15,000 you already took from his savings that he doesn't even know about yet. The silence from the phone was absolutely deafening. I could literally hear her stop breathing. But I wasn't done. I told everyone how she'd been driving to that casino 3 states over every Tuesday and Thursday, lying about visiting her sister. How she'd been forging Dad's signature on financial documents for months. I dropped the bomb about the phone calls I'd been getting from credit card companies looking for her. And how she used different versions of Dad's name to open new accounts when the old ones got maxed out. See, here is what she didn't know. About a year ago, my dad, Mike, started getting suspicious about money missing from their accounts. He didn't want to confront her directly, you know how she gets. So he asked me to help him dig. We spent months quietly tracking her, checking records, even following her on some of those so-called sister visits. What we found was devastating. Her gambling problem was way worse than we thought, and she'd been systematically draining their retirement savings to fund it. She'd gotten scarily good at covering her tracks. Fake bank statements, intercepting mail, a whole separate PO box for the credit card bills. She thought she was so clever, but she had no idea we'd been building a case against her. The real kicker. The reason she was so confident about her fake story of me cheating was because she'd actually been tracking my movements for months. Not because she suspected me of anything, but because she was paranoid I was going to expose her gambling. She'd been following me, taking photos of me going into restaurants and bars, building this elaborate file of my totally innocent activities that she could twist into something sinister if she ever needed leverage against me. The Blue Room thing was perfect for her. I had been there a few times. What she didn't know was that I was meeting with a private investigator my dad and I hired to track her gambling. The Pi recommended that spot because it was discreet and near his office. So while she thought she was catching me in some affair, she was actually photographing me gathering evidence about her theft. After I finished talking, you could have heard a pin drop in that reception hall. Then my mom just snapped. She started screaming into the phone, not the fake, dramatic screaming from before, but real, panic screaming. She was demanding to know how I found out, how long I'd known, what proof I actually had. She was switching between calling me a liar and begging me not to tell my dad. I handed the mic back to the DJ, took her off speakerphone, and walked outside so my guests wouldn't have to hear the rest of the meltdown. That is when she completely lost it. The waterworks started. I was going to stop. I was going to put the money back before anyone noticed. I just needed one more big win to fix everything. I stayed calm and told her the call was being recorded and that Dad already knew everything. I said we'd been building a case for months and had bank records, credit reports, photos of her at the casino, the whole 9 yards. Then I laid down the law if she ever tried to blackmail me or interfere in my marriage again. We'd be filing fraud charges immediately. She switched gears faster than a race car. Suddenly, I was the ungrateful son choosing strangers over family. She said I destroyed her life over nothing, that everyone has problems, and that family is supposed to stick together. She even had the nerve to insist that what she did wasn't as bad as the affairs she completely made up in her head. The conversation dragged on for almost 30 minutes. She cycled through every trick in the book, crying, begging, anger, guilt-tripping. She said I'd humiliated her in front of everyone and ruined her reputation. I reminded her that she tried to destroy my marriage in front of those same people with a pack of lies. I told her everything I said was true, while everything she claimed was pure fantasy. When I finally walked back into the reception, Emily was waiting for me with my dad and my sister. Turns, my best man Daniel had called my dad during my conversation with Mom and filled him in. Dad looked tired, but not surprised. He said he'd been expecting something like this ever since we started our investigation. The rest of the reception. Well, the mood was definitely shot. Some people left early, others came up to offer support. You could see people whispering, taking sides. Some relatives thought I shouldn't have aired the family's dirty laundry in public. Others said my mom got exactly what she deserved. But Emily, man, she was my rock through all of it. She said she'd suspected something was up based on how stressed I'd been, but didn't want to push me before the wedding. She told me she was proud of me for finally standing up to my mom. And that night, after everyone was gone, the text barrage started. Dozens of messages from my mom swinging from "I am so sorry" to "you are a vindictive monster" and back again. I didn't reply to a single one. Dad and I had a plan all communication with her would go through him from now on. But honestly, guys, that silence from her after the text storm, it made me more nervous than all the screaming. When Karen goes quiet, it usually means she is planning her next move, and I knew it was far from over. So yeah, the texts finally stopped. For about a week, it was just quiet. And like I told you guys, that silence was way scarier than all her screaming. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And man, when it dropped, it was a whole damn boot store. She didn't come at me directly. Oh no, that would be too simple. She went straight for the jugular, my wife Emily. It started with a phone call to Emily's parents. Karen called them, crying, saying she was fearful for their daughter's safety. She told them I had uncontrolled rage issues that the family had been hiding for years. She painted this picture of me and my dad as this abusive duo, and now we were using the legal system to silence her for speaking the truth. Naturally, Emily's parents freaked out and called her immediately, worried sick. But that was just the opening act. Next, she called Emily's workplace. She pretended to be a concerned family member and told her boss that Emily might be a victim of domestic distress and that they should keep an eye on her. Can you believe the audacity? Then, she started demeaning Emily's closest friends on Instagram. Long detailed messages about how she was so worried about Emily, that I was a master manipulator, and that she was seeing the same patterns of control that she'd supposedly endured. The most diabolical part was her wording. She never outright said, "He hits her." It was all emotional manipulation, financial control, psychological abuse. She positioned herself as the selfless, brave mother, trying to save her daughter-in-law from the monster she'd raised. Within 48 hours, Emily's world was turned upside down. Her phone was blowing up. Her mom was crying, begging her to come home for a while. Her boss was pulling her aside, asking in a hushed tone if she needed resources or time off. Her friends were sending her these careful, "Are you okay?" texts. It put Emily in a nightmare position. If she defended me too fiercely, it looked like she was in denial. If she admitted we had family drama, it seemed to confirm my mother's story. I came home from work to find Emily in tears, completely overwhelmed. And that is when I knew it was time. I'd been waiting for this. I sat her down on the couch and said, "I need you to listen to something." I opened my laptop and played the recordings, not just from the wedding call. I had years' worth. I had a recording from 3 years ago where Karen coldly plotted to break up a previous girlfriend and me by making her family question his stability. I had one where she coached my aunt on exactly what to say to plant the seed of doubt. And the crown jewel, a crystal clear recording from 8 months before our wedding, where she explicitly laid out her plan to destroy my marriage to Emily if I didn't end it myself. She talked about contacting her support system and making them believe he is emotionally abusive. Watching Emily's face change from heartbroken confusion to pure, white-hot rage was something else. She'd been feeling guilty for doubting me, and hearing those recordings, it was like a switch flipped. She was furious. The next day, Emily became a warrior. She called her parents and played them the key recordings. She called her boss and explained that a malicious family member was engaged in a targeted harassment campaign. She sent audio clips to her friends. She shut it all down, hard. But I wasn't done. I had one last move. I called a family meeting. Not just my dad and sister, I mean everyone. Aunts, uncles, cousins, anyone who'd gotten a call from Karen. I told them we needed to clear the air once and for all. When everyone was crammed into my dad's living room, I connected my laptop to the television, and I played the greatest hits. I started with the older recordings, showing this was a pattern. Then I played the one where she planned to sabotage my marriage. The room was dead silent, just my mother's voice, cold and calculating, filling the space. My aunt started crying when she heard her own voice being coached. My uncle got up and walked out, too disgusted to listen. The rest just sat there in shock, finally seeing the real Karen. When it ended, my mom tried to say it was taken out of context. But there was no context that could explain away her own voice calmly planning to nuke my life. That is when my dad stood up. He looked at her and said, "I am filing for divorce. I've known you were difficult, but hearing you plot to ruin our son's happiness, that is a level of cruelty I cannot live with. You have 1 week to find somewhere else to live." The dam broke. The family turned on her. Everyone saw the truth. There was no more manipulating her way out of it. The legal end was swift. The recordings were gold. Violating the restraining order by contacting Emily's work added new charges. Her lawyer advised her to take a plea deal. She got 18 months in prison, 5 years of probation, and has to pay back every cent she stole. She is also legally forbidden from contacting me, Emily, or my immediate family ever again. The divorce was fast. My dad kept the house and his retirement. She got almost nothing. It has been a few months now, guys, and my life. It is peaceful. It is so quiet. No more walking on eggshells. No more waiting for the next crisis. Emily and I are closer than ever. Going through that hell together showed us we're an unstoppable team. That wedding day blackmail call, as horrific as it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced my hand. It made me use all the ammunition I'd been gathering for years. My mother always preached that family is everything. And you know what? She was right. But my family is Emily, my dad, my sister, and my real friends. And sometimes, protecting your real family means cutting out the toxic one for good. All those years of planning and documenting, totally worth it. She got exactly what she deserved, and I got my life back.